Welcome to season 2 of Where Passion Meets Purpose. I'm your host, Jen Mentasana. Each week, I sit down with entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and trailblazers who share their raw, real stories of perseverance, resilience, and building a life and business with impact. We talk about everything from entrepreneurship and family to purpose and living fully. My goal is to inspire you to start that dream, push through the hard seasons, and wake up every single day ready to live the life you were born to live with passion and purpose. Welcome back, everyone, to Where Passion Meets Purpose. Today on the show, we have an amazing guest. Madhvi Rajan is here, and she is a product and enterprise AI strategist. She is a keynote speaker, and she is here to educate all of us, and I know I need it, on AI, the emerging world of AI, the difference between enterprise AI and what we know as Chat and Claude, and kind of dive into some questions that I think most of us are probably asking right about now. And we are so grateful to have you on the show today. Thank you, Madhvi, for being here.
Thanks, Jen, for having me. You have an amazing podcast. I've been listening to a few of your audios and videos, and it's great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, I love having people on that can educate our audience. Most of the women and men that listen to this show or watch this show are entrepreneurs, or they have a side hustle, and they're just trying to learn. They're trying to keep up. And as you well know, the emerging world of AI and technology, it's really hard to keep up with. And so I try to bring people on the show that are not only amazing at what they do and passionate and have a purpose to what they do, but they're also may know something and can educate us on something that we wouldn't otherwise know to ask. So I'd love to have that, because you probably understand this, the entrepreneurship world, we don't have like someone that we can walk down the hall and ask questions to in another department, right? Like I grew up working in media, not grew up, but my young adult life working in the media business. And all we had to do was know our job. And you could walk down the hall to, the traffic department or, the marketing department or the promotions department or whatever, and you could get the answers you needed right away. And entrepreneurs don't have that. And we're fortunate to have AI. We're fortunate to be able to search on the internet, but we really don't have access to a lot of this information. We have to become the jack of all trades in our businesses, and we don't always have access. So we are so grateful for people like you who can educate us on all this stuff. So I wanted to really, before we dive into all the AI talk, I wanted to ask you, because I know you just didn't land in the lap of AI. Like, obviously you got down this path. Like, who is Madhvi? How did you get here? Why AI? Where was your start in all of this?
Where was I? Where was my start? I mean, I landed, maybe I should start. I split my life between like before US and after US. So born and raised in India, and come from a super orthodox family. First engineer in the family who did her master's abroad. Reason or my purpose was like, hey, I didn't want to get married. I want to escape getting married. And I said like, okay, best route possible, land US, get my master's. And lucky me, my dad never saw my brother and me very differently. He was like all about education, and I love to read and study. And so he was like, yeah, there you go, you got to do it. And my brother was another pillar of support. And then I came to US, did my master's, a geek in electrical engineering, did my research with NASA. NASA funded my entire master's. So yes, truly didn't land in the lap of AI. did few different career transition on the way. Was an engineer, R&D head. I thought I had an amazing run. Like I got an opportunity to lead a product, and there you go. One day they came said like, hey, your project got canceled. So I was like, whoa, okay, that was interesting. I thought that was like a super high visibility, like, we were supposed to ship in a couple of weeks and, like finalizing on a few bugs. And there you go. The lead of the hardware said like, stop working at 7 p.m. in the lab. There's not going to be a project anymore. Initially, I thought he was just kidding, but no, he was not. So the whole thing came down, halt. And it just put me a pause, thought it was a huge failure in my career. It was like a huge drop, but it actually helped me think broader and beyond. I questioned and realized that, hey, it was not the technology failure, it was more of a strategy that failed. And so I went on an exploration and then pivoted into product management and then into broader strategy. And AI has been a part of it.
Wow, that is so cool. And first, let me back up and say, I love how you said, okay, well, I'm going to go study and go to university because I don't want to get married. And I think for so long, especially in America, there are so many women that it was the opposite. I don't want to go to college. I want to go get married. Or right after college, I'm getting married. And so and I don't know if that's not a cultural thing, right? I mean, for you, it was like in your family and in your culture that you get married.
Yeah, we do get married right after education. It's kind of like a security. And it's not just a women thing. I mean, with the family that I come from, even the men got married as soon as, like thinking about it after like so many years, maybe it was not all wrong. I think we were trained to live our like, career and personal life in parallel. It's not like, okay, you finish your education, you like, set your career path, and then you go get married, and then you get to a few promotions, and then you go get kids. No, I think they probably helped us learn to live our lives in parallel, which, could have been not that bad as well. Could have been interesting thinking about it now, but yeah.
Well, it's just a testament to you and your passion and what using your mind and using your gifts that you have to go out and apply them in the world and say, okay, marriage isn't the thing on the forefront of my mind right now. This is what I want to go do. And I think that's so, I mean, a lot of my keynote and what I speak about is all about uncovering our gifts and getting back to who we were meant to be before the world told us who we should be. And I love that you had the intrinsic knowing to like, no, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm going to go. I'm going to go around the world. I'm going to go to university. I'm going to study. I'm going to go to Stanford. I'm going to get my, business degree. And you've done all these things. And it's just really amazing. I mean, I'm not going to guess how old you are. You look like a baby. So I'm assuming, this has been your career and you're still very young and have your whole life ahead of you, and especially in the world of AI. So as I said before, most of the listeners and our audience are entrepreneurs, they're small business owners, they may be moms who are thinking about, starting something, and they may start using AI. But for those of us who are just new to this world, can you explain the difference between enterprise AI and just AI as it is in a terminology where like enterprise is basically corporate, correct?
It's basically corporate. It refers to large companies or medium-sized companies. You base it, you divide it based on the revenue a company is making or the industry they come from, and so on, right? Like, yeah, and size of the employees, size of the problem, size of the revenue. You could dissect it in like various different ways. Yeah.
Got it. That makes perfect sense. Okay. And so another question, and I have this question too. I just started using Claude not too long ago. I've been using ChatGPT for, a year or two, however long it's been kind of out there. And I've gotten really comfortable with it. And I think a lot of people have, and entrepreneurs use it all the time because, again, we're a one-man show and we have to do so many different things. It just speeds up our day. What would you say the biggest difference between those two platforms is, Claude and ChatGPT? If you're an entrepreneur or if you're someone that's using AI for business, what do you think the biggest difference is?
I would So, end of the day, ChatGPT or Claude, they're all tools. They're all tools for you, right? You want to like, see some are better at like writing, some are better with like like how they are synthesizing the long documents and stuff. Claude is better at using the human language better, so they all are releasing new AI models, and we all know that the AI models hallucinate. What that means is like in very simple terms, AI has the tendency to agree with you. When you ask a question, you can never get any of the AI to contradict with you. Hey, so it kind of like reflects your emotions. It's a mirror to you. So you'll have to remember that. And so you have to make sure what your AI tool needs to be when you're talking to it. Like, Wear the hat of an entrepreneur who is looking to create a marketing document or a campaign for this particular audience, and then give me an answer, right? And change the same thing to a different persona, it's going to give you a different answer. So one has to remember to make sure that you create your AI bot to what you want it to be, and then give you an answer that's going to give you the best outcome, ChatGPT or Claude or whichever it is. Claude is better at like the humanness, adding the humanness, I would say, compared to the ChatGPT. You can actually make ChatGPT do that too. Like you can say like, hey, this is to ChatGPT language, it's to AI. It's like, can you, like make it more human? Can you like don't use M dashes? If you see like people are writing all of the articles, one can immediately figure out if it was AI or not AI. It uses this like long hyphens, and that kind of immediately, like gives it out that, hey, it was not AI, it's not this person who wrote this, right? So
Right.
you have to like, adjust or like fine tune your AI to do the way you want it to do, right? So then there is not just ChatGPT and Claude. There are so many other tools like Gamma, like the co-pilots that Microsoft's introduced. I mean, since you said entrepreneur, as an entrepreneur, if I'm like wearing the entrepreneur's hat, it's not just the product or like a particular services that you're building. You are handling customer issues one day, you're handling like billing one day, you're like procuring things for your business one day, so many different things where you're handling spreadsheets, you're handling like, documentation synthesis, you're like, working with your customers. So the problems that are taking a lot of your time, which are like monotonous and could be boring, those are the things where you want to use AI. And it's not just ChatGPT and Claude. You could use Gamma for putting slides together. You can use like, Microsoft's Copilot to like, synthesize your spreadsheets better. And you can do like a simple vibe coding. Like you don't need to be a programmer or a coder anymore. You could just, like use some of the vibe coding tools and say like, hey, this is what I want as an outcome. Like help me synthesize my spreadsheet to give me this output. There you go. Have like 10 different bills. Take it out. Help me put them all together so I could file my tax documents easy. So many different things. So look for the problems that you want to solve and then add AI on top of it.
That's so genius, and it's a great way you explain it to make it applicable to the everyday user, as opposed to those of us who. I mean, I was at a conference in, I think it was March, and these guys were up on stage talking about the ways that they're using Claude for X, Y, and Z, and I was like, whoa, this is way over my head, right? But I don't think that that should intimidate people. I think that's the thing. Like there's that entry level barrier. Like I think people finally got comfortable enough with ChatGPT to realize, okay, there's really not, it's not scary. It's okay. I can tell it, how, who I am and what I do and all the things. And they're not going to, some bot crazy person isn't going to come knocking at my door. I think that was literally the fear in the beginning, right? Like people just didn't understand. And so that all of that has been removed for the most part. And now people are just like, okay, I was just on a Zoom this morning. I was hosting a webinar, on public relations, co-hosting, and it was all about how to use Claude to set up prompts for how to get into the news media as for publicity. And it was all about the prompts and how you start off by saying, I am a blank, blank, blank expert, and I'm looking to get into the media in blank, blank, blank. These are the things. And so like there's very specific prompts for depending on what you want to do. And I think the more time you spend just playing with it a little bit, and letting it get to know you, that's the other thing, right? You want it to get to know you so that it does sound more like you. Someone said also on the Zoom today, I don't know if there's actually a whole way you can take your chats from ChatGPT and plug it into Claude
Yeah, you can do that.
so
You
that
can
it kind of gets
use
to
the
know you
platform.
faster.
You can make them use the platform like interchangeably, right? And it's yeah, it's
So it doesn't have to be this either or, like I'm going for one and not the other kind of thing.
Yeah, I would compare notes depending on which one I'm like using it, and then it is very interesting. Like, there are customized GPTs that people create as well, right? Like author of a certain book or an executive coach, or like people who are doing like speaking, coaching, and so on. So then it, like I said, like it's a persona. You have to create the persona that you want to talk to. So when I'm
Yes.
using an exec coach's persona, and it's like I'm talking to an exec coach directly, right? So it is nothing but data analysis and a synthesis engine, and it is kind of like taking that and recommending solutions for the questions that you are asking, right? Rather than asking like a ground chat GPT, now I'm asking an executive coach saying like, hey, this is how I want to like, make a decision on this particular business problem. Now wear the hat of an exec coach and tell me like what kind of leadership decisions I need to make, right?
Right.
So AI is really not a magic, it is leverage, and how you leverage it is completely in your hands. Ask better questions, learn prompt engineering. There are a ton of like free courses on LinkedIn and so on that can help you like trigger in give you the intuition on how to ask questions. There are like slight nuances that you need to like perfect yourself, and you know better than anybody else about the business that you are running, right? So
Right.
it's really not like a one solution, it's not like a magic, right? So it's gonna help you organize your stuff or like synthesize your thoughts more than giving you like the ready-made solution for anything. So
Absolutely. And I'm going to touch on one thing you said earlier about how there's now actual chats. Like Jay Shetty has a chat, chat Jay or whatever he is. And then like you and I are in a group together called Stage Leaders, and Jen Gottlieb runs that program. And she has a Jen Stage Leaders chat, which is all about focusing on how to build your keynote. And it has the structure and everything already built in. So people, are using these who are experts in their field to really kind of create almost their knowledge and wisdom and experience, and they plug that in, and you can access that. So it's pretty powerful stuff. I mean, it's a way to duplicate yourself to some degree without being a complete clone, right?
true, it's true.
But I think we all know that we can't ever take the human element out of it. And I want that leads me to my next question, which is for those entrepreneurs and small businesses who are using chat and Claude and all these other tools, is there a wrong way? Is there a way not to be using it, or what's the biggest mistakes or things that you see people doing when it comes to AI?
The biggest mistake I see people do when they're using AI is believing it blindly. When people talk about hallucination, it's not like, those circles, rings of circles going around it or something. It's not going to be very obvious, right? You always want to keep your thinking hat on.
Yes.
Be very clear about what you're using this AI for. Like, especially as an entrepreneur, you're taking 10 decisions in a minute or something sometimes, right? It's going to be like so clouded, and you're probably just going to ChatGPT and like, hey, ChatGPT, give me an answer for this particular question or this particular problem, right? But end of the day, you are the owner of what you are doing. So be very clear about not, like assuming that AI is going to solve everything for you. It's not. It is a tool. Like I say again, like it is a tool. It's a hammer, and the hammer can be used for like putting a nail in the wall and nothing more. You are the one who has to figure out where the nail has to go, where for what purposes, right? So
It's
it's
so
it
true. I
it
remember in the early days of me using it, and I saw this, oh, wow, this is amazing. This did for me what it would have taken me days to do. But then you start to go down the rabbit hole, and it's making suggestions. Oh, and then I can do this for you, and then I can do, and before you know it, you're way down over here, and your goal was over here. And I think that's one of the things that I noticed, that I was like, wait a minute, Jen, back up. And so now I've learned to go back in and say, actually, I need you to focus on this specific thing and give me, 5 things that I can do or whatever, but be very clear and specific because it does kind of take it and it takes you down this whole other path and makes suggestions that maybe weren't part of the original plan.
Yeah, and it might come up with answers that it's not even related to your business and stuff. So you got to be very careful and mindful of it because it's always optimizing for the best scenario. Right, like I have seen people taking a job description and putting their resume in, and they say like, okay, can you fine tune my resume for this job description? It does that, but it also adds like new things that you have never done in your career because it has to map into the job description, right? So it's like,
Mm.
no, that's the part where it is hallucinating. It's not those rings again. It's like actually creating things on your behalf. And it doesn't understand like the severity of it,
Yeah.
but it is quite harmful, right? So the
Yeah.
thing,
And it also tells you a lot that you may want to hear that may not actually be true.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, right? So
Yeah. And it's like you have to kind of go back in. I think, isn't there a prompt or something that you can go in and say, be like, there, I saw this
you
on
can
social
actually
media.
say do not hallucinate.
You can say, do
Keep
not hallucinate.
do not hallucinate, and then you can even say like, hey, are you hallucinating? And then it goes and does a fact check and then comes back and says like, no, no, I haven't. Like I took this part from this particular reference or like the document that you fed and so on. Right, so be very clear about like what you ask and how you position it. Use it as like a, I mean, if you're creating a marketing document, right, like you can say like, wear the hat of an expert marketeer, but use the data that I'm providing you from this document or from this text and then create from here. All right, so be very clear, use it as a tool to like optimize something, and rather than, you can even use Gemini for that matter. Gemini is pretty good as well. It's free. Google Gemini in the AI mode. When you look at it, I do sometimes compare my stuff against like, ChatGPT and the Gemini, and Gemini actually pulls and gives you the references as well, like from which website did I pull this out, like which one. And so when you go click it, it will say like, okay, this is where I pulled it, that was that fact, and so on and
So
so forth.
it actually sources it for you.
It sources and it quotes the sources as well.
Yeah, I've seen that in Gemini because Gemini, if you do a Google search, it pops up underneath the Google search automatically. So you can take it a step further from your search and go into Gemini. And so I've used it in that case, but I've never actually gone. So I'll have to add that one to the list. Go check out Gemini as well. So I
Yeah,
have to ask, I mean, this is AI is changing before our eyes constantly.
yeah.
Technology, I mean, even since I mean, let's talk 30 years ago when the internet came on, since to where we are today, it is, multiplying and rapidly changing before our eyes. And you being in this industry, how do you keep up with it all?
I separate, like, no one can keep up with the latest AI models that people keep throwing out there, So I focus, or the way I keep up with the AI is making sure I'm focusing on the problems that I'm trying to solve. And
Hmm.
for me, since I work in the enterprise segment, it's my customers, right? And as an entrepreneur, it's a customers as well, right? Like it's a scale of the customers, the scale of the business problems are different between an entrepreneur or a startup versus an enterprise, but we all are solving for customer problems end of the day, right? So that's the way I see it, and those are not changing in the rapid phase that AI is changing. AI is probably making things better or like giving me like quick solutions and stuff, and for a lot of the problems that I'm solving, I don't need the latest models all the time as well, right? And so yeah, so I don't feel the urge to know or keep up with it. It's a wave. It has to go up and then like settle down. So I just make sure I pick and then I use the tool that I want. Like I don't need like $100, like an automatic hammer or something for the ones that I do. I'm fine with like the $10 ones that I get out of Home Depot. So then I'm good
Right.
with it, right? So having the the technical background probably helps sometimes to like, gauge what you need versus what is all offered to you. So that gives me peace end of the day.
That gives me peace too, that you're saying that, because we hear out there so much, and as entrepreneurs, and there's so much information out there now, it's almost like overwhelming. It's like, how do we stay on the forefront of all of this technology and take advantage and make sure we're ahead of the game? And, you read all this stuff. It's like, if you're not on AI right now, you're left in the dust and you're never going to be able. And I think that pressure is overwhelming for an entrepreneur who's literally just trying to run their business and use this, like you said, as a tool. And there's so many experts out there that are like, oh, if you got to be on the next thing and the next thing. And I feel like it's so, it's a peace of mind to hear you say and there is a way. I remember, like, I'm dating myself like really bad right here, but I remember a time where before CDs, there was something called a laser disc. And it was like, it was like, this thing's coming out and then this thing. And I was kind of like, let's just wait and see what happens here. Because if you're always jumping on the next thing, then you don't give it time to flesh out bugs and really know if it's going to stick and whether or not it's something for you. And I was like, let the experts figure that stuff out and then I'll jump in. But if you had to tell an entrepreneur right now, like if they've never used AI and they were asking, like, I want to start tomorrow, but I don't know where to start. Would be the first step that you would tell someone, like what platform, how to go about using it, Google tutorials, like what's your suggestion?
My suggestion for an entrepreneur who has never used AI before, right? Like I would start listing out the number of hours they are spending on for what. Where is the real value in time that they are adding for an ROI versus spending time on all these mundane tasks that they are like doing. So I would start from the business problem, like your podcast purpose, right? What is the purpose that I am solving for versus which tool should I go learn and pick? Once I make that list, right, it could be like, okay, I have to send these 10 different emails to some 100 customers on an everyday basis. Or I have to create these sales leads that I have to, like, go find on LinkedIn or other channels to go make that happen. Or the billing and like the other things that we spoke about, the procurement and stuff that we spoke about. Once you make that list and look at it and decide which are the ones I really want to spend my time on and go do it, which are the ones I could just go automate it in the background, right? Like, so that's what a lot of the technology is for, to help and enable us. Before we had to bring in experts to help us do things like I need to hire somebody to do my web design. I need to hire a financial person to run the finances of my company. Now AI is going to make things much easier for you, right? It's actually an enabler than something you should be worried and scared about. So once you make that list and you put in like number of hours, and then you decide, like, I would even add a boring and non-boring metric. This is sometimes you do want to do some mundane task to just like keep your mind in a, what to say, like in a flow state. So sometimes I don't mind writing or doing some numbers, crunching some numbers and stuff. And if you're a person love doing that one, keep some of those for yourself and then go find the tools. Go ask ChatGPT or Claude, whichever you have, and then say like, hey, this is the problem I'm solving. Which is the best AI tool I can use? Like you can use ChatGPT to do like your slides, but Gamma does a better job. So then I would go buy a Gamma license or like get some free licenses. And most of these tool vendors give free licenses for startup owners and entrepreneurs who are like generating a certain amount of revenue. I would say like take advantage of it, play with it, and then figure it out. So always start with the problems that you're trying to solve. Measure it based on the number of hours and the boring factor, and then go find the tools that can solve the problems for you.
It's the perfect answer. That was amazing because I say that to my clients as well that I'm working with who are entrepreneurs and who are like, I'm just overwhelmed. And I go, what are the things that are taking up the most of your time? And what can we automate? And what can we delegate? And what can we eliminate? And that's the number one thing. It's like, okay, do we really need to be spending hours on this particular task? Okay, that goes to delegate. So it's what you're saying, the exact same thing. It's, just generic problem solving, which I absolutely love. So thank you for that answer, because that's another one that makes me feel really, really good. Okay, this is our last question, and then I'm definitely going to have you share all the ways that people can get a hold of you and all that stuff. So we'll have that in the oh my gosh, why am I show notes? Thank you. My brain, it should be Friday, but it's only Thursday. Okay. Okay, this is my favorite one to end on. What is the impact you are ultimately trying to create in the world through this work? What does success look like for you? Not just professionally, but as a human being.
In terms of AI, the success that I am shooting for is to get 3 business working days period for all of us. That's how I.
Wow, that's a big one. That's
Because
a
there is
huge
so
human
much.
impact. Three
Yeah.
business working days per year for every human being.
Yes, there is so much other things that we want to do in our lives. Like, oh, I'm gonna save up some time for my vacation in summer to go with the kids to do this. And no, how about like optimizing everything for 3 business days? And then I use the rest for my hobbies, spend time with family or friends, walk my dog, enjoy the nature, go for a hike. So many other things that we could do.
Madhvi, are you going to run for office? How are you going to get this done?
I would love to at some point in my life. I don't know, and it never occurred to me. But then maybe lead by example, I guess. I don't feel the pressure anymore. Like and I don't feel the pressure of I have to be like on top of the latest tech and all that, because I think I know the value that I bring in. Right? Like I guess it's the same thing for everybody too, right? Don't worry that the AI is going to take away your job or something. No, it is a sophisticated tool. It's nothing very different from the days when we had to wait for a news through telegrams to now just doing FaceTime. Like, and every time a new tech comes in, it's not like our lives are like, what to say, like we become less busy. We actually become more busy. We have a lot of more time, like rather than writing just one article. These days people write like 3 articles in a day, so they're just becoming more busier. It's not it's in our hands, right? Like, so then how it's not AI taking away my job, but AI is can give me the time back, and it's up to me to figure out how I want to use the time, so
That
yeah.
is amazing. I mean, I think if you did run for office or you started a company one day that it was only 3 days a week to work, I think you'd have employees flocking to you. That's number one. And I love what you just brought up about how AI is not going to replace your job. I think that's a huge fear, especially, there's a lot of talk out there right now about these kids graduating from college in the next several years, like all the entry level positions are being eliminated and everybody's fear about, and I think I'm actually going to have a guest on in a few weeks who is going to touch on exactly that topic, which is, it drives him crazy when he hears that, these companies are laying off like huge amounts of human beings and having AI, but someone needs to teach the AI, and someone needs to actually manage that process. And so, it's an ongoing conversation, I think, that we will have until, it's kind of like when the pendulum swings back and everything kind of calms down and people figure out that we still need human beings and companies to run things. That I always say, because I'm in the human business, I am all about human connection. I am all about valuing the gifts and the talents that we've been given as our worth, as opposed to having to prove our worth or show in some capacity like an output. So AI, like you have been saying this whole time, is really truly a tool, and it's nothing to be afraid of. And you definitely, in all of these questions, have really like eased my mind in a lot of ways. And I hope that I'm sure that you have done the same for our audience, because, this is the first time I've had this topic on my show. And I'm really excited to air this episode and give people a little bit of peace of mind. It's coming up a lot in my networking groups and the groups that I host with entrepreneurial women, but to get it out on a more mass scale and just say, hey, everybody relax, we're good.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, everyone is saying that people are losing jobs because of AI, but trust me, like the corporations are not laying people off because of AI. They just need to get their money and the budgets back to use AI, and they have to find the money somewhere, and so they are laying people off. There is a lot of tribal knowledge that is that comes with the people who've been in the business. And when you asked me initially about the enterprise AI is a lot more complicated because it comes with all of this tribal knowledge, which is like with the people. And they are like in smaller islands across multiple business groups. And AI is like a horizontal that has to stitch across these business groups. There are some companies who laid the people off and brought the same people back again for them to build the right AI solutions. So there's a lot of buzz in the market, in the industry. I would say, like, don't worry, it will all calm down. It's a wave. It has to settle back down. So, yeah.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for all this amazing information. You are a wealth of knowledge and also giving me so much peace. And so I'm so grateful for you. So tell us where we can find you, your social media handles.
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
You can find me, search for Madhvi Rajan, and I'll show up.
Great. And I'm going to have all this in the show notes. So you guys will be able to follow her, connect with her. And then you are a keynote speaker and you're going to be out, I know, speaking on these topics for years to come. So we'll be following your career, and I'll make sure that if there's any like upcoming events that you're going to be at or anything, that I'll tag that as well.
Perfect. Sounds good. Thanks, Jen.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. And thank you, all of you. And we will see you next week. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you found this episode beneficial. And if you feel compelled to do so, share it with a friend who might benefit too. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Reach out to me anytime on my website at jenmentasana.com.